Howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, tonight we're going to talk about mistakes. You know, when a person makes a mistake, a smart person, they tend to learn from it. A wise person learns from somebody else's mistakes. But society takes us a real long time to learn anything. And in the meantime, we just double down because we don't question what we're told. The war on drugs is a perfect example. If you think about it, you've got millions of years of people's lives spent in a cage, trillions of dollars spent, untold amounts of resources expended to fight some plants. And the plants are winning. We embrace a system that encourages the worst instincts humanity has to offer. Greed. And we cheer as the planet is plundered. People in other countries are plundered. And well, that's just the way it's got to be, because it's human nature. And we say that greed is human nature without any hint of irony, as our children sleep next to 100-pound dogs and we go and ride horses on the weekend. Because man is apparently the only animal incapable of change. It's just human nature. And because of that, we embrace a political system that gives us the best of the worst as leaders. Those who are great at politics, they rise up through the ranks from the local to the state level, and eventually they find their way to Washington, D.C., where they participate in an orgy of corruption unlike anything we've ever seen. But it's just human nature. Every once in a while, we get that unicorn that shows up. Somebody that isn't in it for themselves. That really cares about the people. And what do we do with that unicorn? We send it to D.C., where it spends the rest of its life being corrupted, slaughtered, or fighting a never-ending battle that bears no fruit. But we did our part. We voted. We did our part. And we expect things to change. We look for hope and change. Look for somebody to make America great. But we only send the people up there that are in it for themselves, or those rare unicorns. I want no part of it, so no, I don't want to run for office. I don't believe that any person living knows how to run my life better than I do. And I know I'm not wise enough to run your life. I want no part of it. You know, when people ask me about my ideology, what I think what I think we should be working towards, and I tell them, you know, eventually, long after I'm dead, we should be hoping for a a society without borders, a society without government, a society of just people living together, doing no harm. And they laugh because of human nature. Again, human nature won't allow that. Eventually, somebody in this stateless society will carve out their own country, create a government, rule over other people. And somebody else will do it. And eventually, we'll be right back to where we started. And the people that say this always think that they've made a great argument. But what that tells me is that deep down, they know the current system is wrong. Because their strongest argument against the idea of a stateless society is that one day it might become what we have now. If that's the worry, what does that say about what we have now? And people ask, well, how are we going to achieve this? How are we going to do this? It's up to you. It's up to you. People can give you guidelines, give you ideas, but it's up to you. If somebody was to give you marching orders, well, that would defeat the whole point. Simply, we plant the seeds today for trees that we will never sit under. People always say, think globally and act locally. We think that means recycling. It's everything. It means everything. But that's hard. It requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of thought. It requires action. And we've been conditioned to rock the boat. And that's what's important, and let our betters decide how we should live our lives. Then we look at the youth of today, and they're either angry or apathetic. They're either angry and trying to tear down societal norms, or they just don't care. Of course they are. Of course they are. They look at their future, the future that we've laid out for them, and they see the past. There's nothing new. There's no revolutionary idea. There's nothing for them to pursue. They are to be a cog in the wheel, hop on the conveyor belt, and let society mold them. We live in a world where technology is advancing so quickly. Most of the problems that the world has can be solved if we spent less time trying to kill each other over flags or books. The device that you're watching this on has the entire base of human knowledge on it. You can access anything. A person today can get a better education via their phone than what was possible 100 years ago with 12 years of school. But we still cling to these old systems. We don't revolutionize. We don't move with it. We let the technology be used to govern us, control us, rather than using it to liberate ourselves. We have to move towards some kind of new idea, some kind of new promise for the future generations, or we are going to leave them with nothing. Leave them with growing inequality, a polluted planet, constant war, a surveillance state, this is what we offer our children. We can do that, or we can lay the groundwork. So one day, all people really are created equal. And rather than fighting for the scraps from those in power's table, we just have a really long table and everybody's eating. It's outside a gas station, and this woman there, she's in a minivan, got her kid in her car, and the people at the gas station are kind of trying to chase her off. Being a little rude about it, I asked what was going on. She said all I wanted was a little change. You and me both. But that is the world we have. People living in their cars. When we have the resources for anything, as long as we cease to compete and we start to cooperate, as long as we abandon the idea of needing a ruler. You don't need a leader, you're a leader. We have to make a change or we leave nothing behind. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.